For me, community means, it literally means being together and about love, and I think love is literally the highest vibrations. I think community is the most important thing, and not even just for musicians, but on planet Earth itself.
Hello, welcome to Stories from a Room, a So Far Sounds podcast where we explore the inspiring journeys of incredible artists we love and the stories that shape their journey. I'm your host, Josh Savage, and today I'm joined by Footbox G, a world-class beatboxer from Belgium, a true innovator in the beatbox community. He blends future beats, trap, and electronic sounds into his unique style. A multiple-time Belgian champion, winner of the 2023 World Beatbox Championship in Berlin, and a viral online presence, he's helping shape the future of beatboxing, both as a performer and a teacher. Footbox, it's great to have you here, man. Tell me more about beatboxing to start off with, because most people assume beatboxing is like the typical boots and cats, or like pea soup. Are they right? Tell me more.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Josh, for the great intro. It's true that beatboxing, at first it was called human beatbox, and it all started with trying to replicate or trying to try to do typical drum sounds, but only with the mouth in order to create a hip hop beat for the local rappers. But nowadays, beatboxing really has evolved through a very big art form and discipline. So now it doesn't only stay with hip hop. Now we also can create other music genres, and we can create our own sound kit like producers do. We make our own songs. We make our own albums, but 100% beatbox, for example, or we can experiment way more with beatboxing by combining it with electronic music or with hip hop music. It goes very far nowadays. Beatbox is just now another way how to make music.
Love that. So can you share a bit of the history of beatboxing? Like, when did it start from the basics to the more evolved version that you spoke about?
Well, so unofficially, because you can never be really sure who was the very first who was beatboxing, but unofficially, beatbox started around 1980 in the Bronx, New York, let's say.
Right.
And one of the first beatboxers or human beatboxers that we all know is Dougie Fresh. And Dougie Fresh was one of the guys who really took human beatbox as a vocal percussionist, and who could really like freestyle on his own and could actually do like a proper showcase with it. Same for Razel and same for other old school beatboxers out there. Um, but making sounds with the mouth, or using voice as a tool to make different sounds than words, let's say, this goes like way earlier than 1980. This goes like even, I think, more than 1,000 years ago or even longer, where people try to imitate birds and other animal sounds just to communicate with each other for when there's
Mm,
danger, or when there is something else. So yeah,
yeah.
we use our voice as a tool, like way back. But human beatbox unofficially started around 1980.
Very cool. Very cool. And so how did you get involved into beatboxing? So you come from a small town in Belgium, is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in the small village called Denderleeuw. uh, I don't want to say there's nothing special there, but for me, everything around there is special because it's nostalgic and it's because it's emotional. But basically, it's like a pretty small village, yes. And when I was still living there, and then I actually got to discover like a human beatbox app, which had like 6 buttons on my iPod Touch. Back then, I was gaming a lot with it. I was playing Angry Birds. I was playing Subway Surfers, like the good old apps. Um, well, relatively old, let's say. And one of these apps was also human beatbox, and it had like 6 buttons. So I was touching one of these buttons, and it says poof, poof. The other button says tss, tss. The other one says ka ka. And if you would tap it like with some rhythmic skills, it will create boots, cats, like that. And I was like, hey, yo, I can tap it and I can actually beatbox it. I must be pretty good. until until one guy of my school called Logan, I was 14 years old around it, and Logan challenged me at my school when we were both at the same school. And he said, like, I challenge you to a beatbox battle. And I said, okay. And I did the poots, cats, and he did something like something like that.
So pause on that quick, Tim. What is a beatbox battle then? Are you literally fighting each other? What's going on?
Well, back then, I also didn't really know what the beatbox battle exactly was. So
Yeah.
I just assumed like it's each one turn and you just show your best skills. But actually, a beatbox battle is when you are on stage against a different beatboxer and you both
Mm-hmm.
get 90 seconds twice. Like, for example, it
Mm-hmm.
goes in A B system in the classic way, which means that if
Mm-hmm.
you and I would have a beatbox battle and you
I
start
hope
because
not.
of because of a
You
coin
destroy
toss,
me. I hope not.
you
You
never know.
destroy me.
But so if it's A B system, this would mean that you you start because of a coin toss, for example. You start, you get 90 seconds.
Uh-huh.
I start, I have I go after you, sorry, and I have 90 seconds, and then the same stuff again. So you have 90 seconds again, then I have 90 seconds again, and then there's a professional jury who decides who was the better beatboxer based on originality, musicality, technicality, and performance, and other sub aspects.
And is there a
So
strategy to that? How do you win?
well, everybody must make up their own strategy. Like, for example, what I do, I make my own beatbox songs. Some other
Mm-hmm.
beatboxers freestyle. And what I also do, for example, I study my opponents, their weakness. Like, for example, if I know that an opponent is like very, very technically strong and very loud, for example, because it could have a huge impact on a microphone. Um, but if somebody's, for example, very technical but less musical or not so catchy, and you feel that the crowd is missing that, or in general that he doesn't captivate the crowd that much, then I would go for very catchy music with some technical aspects in it. So I show what he has and what he's missing, or she has
Right.
and she's missing. So that's how I would come up with strategy for a beatbox battle, more or less.
Interesting. So it's important to be an all rounder to be able to be skilled in beatboxing in all sides of it, and then just kind of um, showing off it in the style that your opponent isn't as good at.
Well, for me, it is quite important to be an all rounder. But what's also important is that if you have really one dominating aspect, like for example, if you are musically okay and if you are quite of a good performer but not massively good, but you are a crazy, crazy technical beatboxer with crazy uh, drum patterns or crazy combos, or you can just go super fast and you don't accelerate the BPM and you just stay really good on time, for example, that's quite impressive. And if you are like one of the best in the world with that, then for me it's important too if you can really dominate with one specific skill, so you can also really convince the jury and the crowd like, hey, okay, you can quite do everything, but can you be like a, do you have a superpower, you know? It really depends on how you want to show yourself to the public, and if you do it good or less good.
And what's your superpower, Footbox?
Well, people tell me I am one of the cleanest beatboxers on the planet. Like, I really take care of my drum kit and of my
Ah,
sound kit, but I also make sure that whenever I make sure that as soon as I perform a sound on stage, that it's like mastered 2.0. I will not show a sound that's like still a bit rough.
mm.
Sometimes it's maybe my ego, but at the same time, it's also just my way of showing respect to beatboxing. You know, But I would
Yeah.
say I am definitely naturally clean because I don't also put too much effort in it. But I think I'm quite technical too. I think I'm considered in top 3 or top 5 um, best technical beatboxers, if not number one. If I heard from different people,
Let's
different
go.
professionals, but I don't consider myself as one because we all have a different vision on it, and at the end, it's still kind of subjective. But I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really respect the opinion, of course.
So take me back to this first beatbox battle that you did, and where did you go
Yes.
from there?
Yeah, so after beatboxing against Logan, I went home and I was like, okay, so beatbox is definitely not for me. I still enjoy it, but let me see how good people could be in a beatbox battle or just in beatboxing in general. So I went on YouTube and my first beatbox battle ever that I watched was Green Effects versus Caleb Simmons. It was like a old school beatboxer versus a new school beatboxer, but still it felt like not very close. But the type of performance was just like, yeah, so cool to me and very convincing that beatboxing is a very cool thing and a professional thing. But as soon as I clicked on the next video, which was Killer versus Alem, World Beatbox Championship 2012, the finals, I was just like convinced immediately from the first second I heard Skiller beatboxing. And I was like, what is this? What on earth is this? I was like, wow. And then Alem, he responded. And it was like, back then for me, it was even better. Well, some moments, not everything. But I was like, okay, so there are like multiple beatboxers that good. And somehow I just rolled in and I started to watch tutorials on YouTube. I went to beatbox battles in Belgium and some other events where you could just get workshops and these things. And yeah, after 7 8 months beatboxing, somehow they call you in school or wherever you go, they call you the beatboxer because you just keep on doing it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm a beatboxer now. That's cool. And I never stopped beatboxing since then.
Yeah, yeah. But that's awesome. Do you think YouTube has played a huge part for the beatboxing community?
Definitely, yes. Most battles that people see are still first YouTube, and then people really go to a beatbox event because it looks professional. Especially how
Mm,
Swiss Beatbox is taking care of it, and Beatbox Battle TV, Hatton Beatbox Battle, Vocal Total, Florida Beatbox Battle. Well, they're all like organizations and beatbox battles in general that really take care of like good filming, good sound, and also the structure of the event is super great. So I think that's nowadays really the way how to convince people that they should watch a beatbox battle. However, it could also go the other way around. Like people accidentally go to a beatbox battle because of a friend or because there's just something happening in town, and then most of the time it's just very cool and very good organized. And then people are like, wow, okay, and then they keep on, well, they stay interested, and then they go on YouTube to check out other stuff. And
yeah.
but yeah, to answer your question, YouTube is definitely like a big factor. YouTube, TikTok, all social media platforms actually nowadays.
Awesome. Tim, I think for our audience who don't fully understand how beatbox has evolved yet, do you mind just giving us a little short performance just to give an idea? I know we haven't done any like sound levels or anything like that, but would you be comfortable sharing a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So let's say
Let's go.
around 1980, this was pretty much the hip hop beatbox style, which goes like something like that. And I think nowadays everybody has their own beatbox style. I mean, especially the professionals, but I could go, for example, like. I didn't beatbox yet today, so my some notes might be quite not what I wanted, but yeah.
Mate,
Now you have
that
like an
sounds
idea of
incredible.
the sounds we do and stuff. Yeah.
Just for our listeners, by the way, if you're not watching, that was done all from Tim's mouth. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. And you make it look so easy. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Cheers.
Um, but that's the thing. Like I people don't understand the pain that you've got through to learn those skills. Like how do you develop the patience to develop all those skills and do so many things at once with just your mouth? It's insane.
Well, as you say, it's a matter of patience, but at the same time, when you're really passionate, I mean, um, it doesn't really matter. Like, for example, after 1 year of beatboxing, or after 3, 4, 5 years of beatboxing, my passion kind of remained the same, because I always went with the mentality like, okay, I'm good, but I definitely want to become better, and I'm staying interested to all other kinds of skills that I can learn, and sounds or skills that I can develop myself or invent myself. So it's a matter of time, but also it's a matter of the amount of effort you want to put in, depending on the time and place where you're at, of course.
And what was it about beatboxing that made you so passionate about it?
Well, I always found it kind of cool when I saw musicians just with the microphone on stage, like singers, for example, or rappers, even like musicians who had like a guitar on stage. The aesthetics were satisfying visually in my head. For me, it was like, wow, cool. But I never really went to music school, and I didn't want to start with something where I was not sure about. But somehow I found beatboxing so cool, and the aesthetics were cool, and at the same time there was a competition, and I used to play football back then when I was 14, and everything what I saw like in one video, it kind of matched with my personality, like being competitive. However,
Mm.
beatboxing is not being about it's not about being competitive, of course. But when I saw a beatbox battle, and when I saw the people like giving everything they got on stage, I think just everything all together, it just it just looked cool to me. And at my 14 when I was 14 years old, I was like, yeah, I want to be a cool guy, I'm gonna beatbox, and it looks dope, I want to do it myself. These were my 14-year-old thoughts, of course. But when you beatbox and it sounds good, then it makes you want to keep on doing it. But at the same time, beatbox also just feels good, because it just feels like a bunch of energy that you could just release. I mean, it's for you the same, I think. When you just play music and you bring magic to an environment, and the people are just listening, and you just bring people together, this is what it's about, right? And it's the same with beatboxing. It's just maybe less popular for now. I truly believe that beatbox at someday will be the most used art form on the planet. Not now, but maybe within 20 years, I really believe so. Because it really goes not like this, but really it goes like that, beatboxing. And it's innovation for real. Uh, so yeah, I kind of went off topic, but yeah, for me, the magic of beatboxing was really everything together. Like the way they perform, the way it brings people together, the way people can express themselves differently than other music genres or ways of making music. And yeah, many more things. I really love this art form so much.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I don't have a clue about beatboxing, but as a singer, I can notice just how vocally complex it is that you're doing. Just changing from dynamics and ranges just instantly is just blows my mind every time. And also the sounds that you make that are like super low as well just sound just shouldn't be allowed almost. it's like it's like so low. And I guess that comes from a bit of Mongolian singing, maybe. Is that an
Yes, yeah,
influence
yeah,
in a
yeah.
way?
Exactly. Well, the Mongolian singing, In our culture, we call it throat bass if we speak about
Mm,
the same. I think so.
mm,
So the Mongolian singing is like, for me, there's no real difference in terms of technique if we speak about the same. And I also need to study it, of course, a bit better.
yeah.
But beatboxers use this singing technique in order to perform a bass sound, because we also use the microphone differently. We like use the grill, and we take the grill with our
Mm.
hand palm, um, and
Can you
we
just
we
perform
often
that
combine.
quickly so
Yes,
people
sure.
understand what that sound is?
Yes. So what we call the throat bass sounds like. Yeah, this is Mongolian. You recognize the Mongolian singing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's this technique. Yeah, as you heard, we use it in combination with other sounds that we do, like the basic drum kit, like kick, hi-hat, snare. Then if we put like the throat bass on top of it, which means like
Uh-huh.
throat and using lips at the same time, we can manage to sound as full as possible.
So how do you even learn Mongolian throat singing? Do you need to go through puberty twice or something? How does it work?
Whew. Well, so this is turning out into a tutorial.
Yeah, I'm
um,
fascinated. I'm sure the listeners would love to know as well. And I know you love
well,
teaching too.
yeah, I do definitely. Often when I teach to kids, I don't teach them this sound yet, because I want people already to grow up a bit first.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so this sound, where we call it in our community the throat bass, what we do is we really push our vocal muscles in the same way as if we are coughing, like. And if you feel that last consistent vibrating sound, this is the sound that you need to keep on going. And as soon as you
wow.
have that, you can actually train, maybe with piano, or with a keyboard, or however you can actually train the notes. In that way.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're just learning your scales with that tone.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Exactly.
Insane. So cool. Well, thanks for sharing that, Tim. And so you how that blows my mind actually that there is a beatbox community in Belgium, and that's where you did your first competition. What was it like doing your first competition? Were you quite nervous?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so my very, very first beatbox show I gave was at my school. Um, it was like a day of the student, so there was like a like a free stage, like
Mm,
people just could show their skill, or their talent. It's a bit like Got Talent, yeah, but then for our
yeah,
school. So
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
people went to sing, some people went to rap, some people did other stuff, and I went there as the beatboxer. But apparently, my school, they hired a professional beatboxer that was on Belgium's Got Talent. His name is Devo,
Mm,
and Devo went to my school, and he was the opening act, and he just killed it. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like 10 acts after him, and he was already beatboxing for 10 years or something, or 8 years, and I was there beatboxing 7 months, and I was like, oh no. But at the same time, I was so fascinated. I was like, wow, this guy can already do the throat bass. And this guy
yeah.
can just do everything. I was like, wow, okay. um and after I reached out to him after this concert, and I texted him on Facebook, like, hey, yo, man, you went to my school, you were super great. And I am also beatboxer, but I'm very curious about the beatbox activities or events happening in Belgium. Can you please tell me whenever there's an event? And he actually put me in the community. And so there were many beatbox events happening. But the first one I actually ever participated was Belgian Beatbox Championship directly. Because for the eliminations, it's for free. Like, you don't need to win a certain battle or something. Everybody can register. Only the top 16 can actually uh, beatbox battle. So I did my
Mm.
elimination round on stage, and the jury qualified me as ninth place already after 2 years of beatboxing around that time.
Wow.
Yeah, some events before I couldn't go because I was still a bit not too young, but I needed to focus on school, of course, and I was not up to date, not that much up to date yet with everything that was happening. So yeah, I was ninth place in the eliminations, and in top 16, my very first battle ever was against the same guy that put me in the community, who did the showcase at my school, and I lost 5-0. Like every judge pointed at him. But for me, it was fantastic to have my first battle and to sound still. Like for me, I sounded quite good, but I was totally nowhere near him. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's very was a very humbling moment, but also a moment of honor for me, because it was him, and I could directly see like, okay, this is still what I have to learn.
Mm.
I'll make sure I have it next time. But I also remember too that I made many friends out there, and that this community is all about family and sharing, and not about beatbox battling. That it's not about the competitive side only, not at all. It's actually coming together, jamming together, sharing sounds, and improving the art form as much as possible. So that's the cool side of it.
How important is community for musicians?
Is it not the most important? Like, for me, community means, it literally means being together and about love, and I think love is literally the highest vibration. So I think community is the most important thing, and not even just for musicians, but on planet Earth itself, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I find, well, we're going through a loneliness epidemic at the moment, and I think there's going to be great stuff that comes with AI, but some of the drawbacks is that you're not going to need fellow humans as much as you used to, and so it's going to be harder to connect with people. And that's actually what inspired me to bring So Far Sounds back to Berlin, because um because I was so lonely, to be honest. I just went through a breakup, and despite my career, my successful career as a musician, playing all these big shows, I just felt so alone and disconnected with people. There's something about playing the big stages that makes you even more disconnected in a way, and you're kind
Hmm.
of put on a pedestal, and people are like almost too intimidated to approach you. And what I love about living room shows and So Far Sound shows is like we're all on the same level, and it's family,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and it's great to have that kind of support system to keep you going, because what we do as musicians is so difficult and volatile. It's like you might have some amazing years, and then suddenly everything's quiet, and then it's a roller coaster ride.
Oh, you've been doing super good with these so far gigs in Berlin. Where
It's
I've
been
been to, it
beautiful,
was
man.
always good.
Yeah, it's been great to have you in Berlin. It's amazing just watching people's reactions every time you perform, and any other beatboxer, and that's why I love to support the beatbox community there.
Cheers.
Um, and I was exposed to the beatbox community through Reaps One, who was my
Oh,
neighbor in London.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
true. You told
he,
me.
he's like a true OG in the
Yeah, yeah.
beatbox space, isn't he? So such a nice guy, killer chess player as well. I love my chess games with him, and yeah, just I really want to bring that to the forefront. And credit to you and Marvelin and El Grande for all the work you do to kind of support that beatbox community as well. I really love to see it. Really love to see it. Um, and so it must have been quite a great moment for you, um, battling um, the guy from your school and showing you the level that you need to be at the top of your game. How did you bounce back from that experience to get to where you are now? How did that inspire you?
Well, after this very first participation at the Belgian Beatbox Championship, I immediately asked feedback to some better or more professional beatboxers. I asked for feedback, and I also asked for feedback to my parents who were there, and to my ex girlfriend back then, her parents and her family, because like beatboxers, for example, could tell me like you could do this and better in terms of technique, but
Mm.
um, some of the some of my family members, they actually could tell like you looked insecure, so now you can
Mm.
for next time you can manage your stage presence. And
Mm.
I've been working on that the entire time, and every event where I've been to right after, for me it was then just a matter of how could I do better, how could I do better, how could I do better, sometimes based on my own reflections and sometimes based on feedback. um, and then it brought me all the way up here, same stuff, same story, but with different beatboxers, different professionality, different experiences, different ideas. And that's how we do it, always being okay with your current skill or skills, and always up for more if there's the possibility.
Mm. How do you know whose advice to trust for constructive criticism? Because I find you either have people who are cheerleaders who just tell you what you want to hear, but of course that's not going to make you improve. How do you make sure you get the right criticism?
For me, you always need to reach out to people that you trust. And for in my story or in my environment, this would be beatboxers who have been doing just better somehow, or are just way more experienced, and who already made the failures that I was about to, and they could give advices to not fall in the same traps, or just to learn in a different way that was maybe the most obvious way, instead of only doing tutorials. It's also just good
Mm.
to look yourself up and to just find and then discover what sounds you can do with your mouth, these things. So yeah, I always reached out to the most honest people I know, because sometimes it's true, you have cheerleaders or like people who just tell you things you want to hear, but I'm not afraid for people who can slightly even be brutal, because you know how hard the music industry is. There's just no way to there's just no way to not go all in. So
Mm.
so I learned from
Great point.
beatboxers who I was looking up to, because they had something I didn't have back then. And I also reached out to non-beatboxers based on what they want to have as a outsider. And
Mm.
putting both worlds together is what it's about. This makes the community bigger again. So,
What do your parents think about your beatboxing? Did they take you seriously in the beginning? What background do they come from?
well, um, I'm gonna talk about my dad. So my father, he was actually the very first person who got me a beatbox show, apart from my free stage show at my school. Like a couple of months after, he said like, hey, if you really like what you're doing right now, uh I can get you like a small 5 minutes or 2 minutes at a local party. And I said, oh yeah, let's go for it. And I remember some of my actual school friends were there and like cheering, yeah, go for it. These memories. It was on YouTube for a long time, but I put it in my private ones right now, because if I look at it right now, I definitely learned a lot. But so my dad, because I'm going off topic again, but my dad actually supported me all the way through. Said like, "Hey, you're like doing this, right? So yeah, I'm gonna make sure you can do this, this, and this. Thank me later." I said, oh, cool. And my mom, for example, at first, well, she's from the beginning until the very end also being very supportive. But when I started beatboxing, I never mentioned that. When I could do the poo poo tss, tss, ka, ka, with with the application on my Apple Touch, I was actually just motivated to annoy my brother with it, and she was not supporting that, you know. So yeah, so my mom thought at first I was just being annoying with it, and beatboxing or training beatboxing, it's a bit like training the violin. If you're in the beginning not very good with it, it can sound very annoying.
Mm,
Um, with other instruments too, of course, but for me the violin works as an example. So, but as soon as you actually start to do it good, like you can actually wake up real emotions with the violin, or you do the same with beatboxing, or cliche, you can make people dance with beatboxing, one of the first
mm,
things you learn. um, then my mom also saw, okay, so he's taking this very seriously, and she dropped me off at some beatbox events, and she dropped me off at some battles, or to just have rehearsals with other beatboxers to train together. So that was her way of showing support, and to come to my to the championships or to some shows that I was doing. So long story short, my parents have been very supportive. Yeah.
beautiful. And do they come from a musical background themselves?
My father was, well, he never really played an instrument, but my father worked as a volunteer at the radio station, and he was a DJ back then, like a local DJ who was performing tracks and songs of of just locals. And my mom didn't really do music, but her granddad was doing this. He was
Mm,
playing the piano, I think.
interesting. Very cool. And do you play any instruments yourself?
No, what I currently do is, obviously I beatbox.
Mm,
Um, I did 1 year of piano. Um, I did 1 year of piano at the music academy, like jazz pop rock section. And I actually managed to go to the second year, but at the second year I stopped because it was not my way of learning. I rather like the typical hip hop discipline. I rather like to be creative and inventive directly with nothing, and to make something out of nothing. Um, and I rather to hustle for information instead of sitting on a chair and getting information. However, this works too, right? But it was not my way, let's say. So what I do is I beatbox and I produce music with beatbox sounds. And after, when these produced electronic beatbox music is finished, I DJ it too. And my next step is to combine it to a 1 hour concert, um, so I could perform my beatbox music as a solo beatboxer, and as a beatbox music producer, and as a beatbox DJ. That's
hell
the
yeah.
next step for me. But these are the things that I play.
And also, why would you pick up an instrument when you already make the sound from your mouth anyway, right? So I'm
Exactly.
actually I'm really envious of beatboxers, how they have nothing to carry when they travel all over. Very, very,
Yes,
very
but at
envious.
some point, for us as beatboxers, the trap here is that a beatboxer can be defined or entitled very quickly as just an entertainer. Maybe some musicians too, of course, but for beatboxers, sometimes it's hard to be taken serious as just another musician. Within the
Mm,
musician world, it's different. But if you want to go play for people who are not there for the music, and you are the kind of beatbox artist who want to perform as a musician, then that's not always that easy, because a guitar and like a piano or violin or trumpet is just so, is that a correct word, like solidified, like maybe not
solidified.
solidified,
What is it in French? I might
is
be able to
just
translate.
so constructed, like very, in such a genius way, that sometimes when you just press one single key or perform one note, it already sounds, in terms of frequency, so accurate and so good.
Hmm.
For beatboxers, it's very fragile, um, because it's just you, and it's the
Yeah.
opposite way of singing. and singing is a way older discipline than beatboxing. So that's the trap for us. So sometimes I envy you too.
Yeah. But I guess a big challenge for you as well is just like ensuring your voice is tip top everywhere you go as well. Any practices that you have to make sure you're you don't lose your voice when you're traveling everywhere?
Yeah, what I do is I do the classic warm up as the singers. So I practice my scales with like a piano or with a piano app or keyboard app, and I drink uh, not ginger tea but licorice tea combined with Moroccan mint tea.
Mm.
It's better for the vocal cords. You say it like that? Yeah, I think the vocal cords. And it just tastes good at the same time.
I know
um,
that one. That's by Puka, isn't it?
by
Puka
Puka.
do licorice mint tea.
I buy the licorice tea in like the local bio shop here around.
Ah,
And the Moroccan mint tea, I actually go for Lipton. It's not maybe
right.
not the very 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 best one, of course, but uh, for me it still works. And my girlfriend advised me it because she's a professional singer too. Um, so I use this. I train my voice same way as the singers, and otherwise I try to avoid like real sugar. Like I avoid candies and I avoid soda um, and like a fast food right before going on stage. Right, for some beatboxer it works because they use more muscles like the cheekbones and tongue and lips instead of voice.
Mm.
Some people just go for it, like real rock and rock stars, let's just say. But I prefer to stay clean right before the show, and sometimes after I can celebrate with a rum, or
We.
yeah. But otherwise, I try to take care of myself in these ways. Yeah.
Very important. So tell me this journey from losing the battle to that guy in your school to then winning the 2023 World Beatbox Championship in Berlin and what that meant to you.
So after Belgian Beatbox Championships 2014, after playing against the guy who came to perform at my school,
Mm.
Devo, um, after I trained as much as I could, of course, and I attended to pretty much every beatbox battle there was in Belgium. If I couldn't make it, then I just couldn't make it. Sometimes I didn't do every beatbox battle, but I tried as much as I could, learning, reflecting on myself, what I did good, what I could do better. And at some point in 2016, I won my first beatbox tournament, not the national championship, but a different tournament. And it was judged by this guy I lost. And he gave me advice after what I could still improve. So in 2016, I won my first tournament. And in 2017, I won another tournament in the final against Devo, against the guy that brought me in the community. It was a small local
Wow.
battle, but I did it. And during that time, I already lost 3 times against the former Belgian beatbox champion called Supernova. And Supernova, first time I was against him in the finals, I lost very hard. The second time I was against him, I lost, but not super hard. It was just rather like 60-40, you know.
Right.
And the third time I was against him, the jury needed, instead of like 20 seconds, they needed 5 minutes to to know who's the winner, and I still lost back then.
You're creeping up on him. You're gaining on him every time and learning
Yeah, yeah,
from
yeah,
each
yeah,
experience.
pretty much. And so after that, I was like, okay, my next thing is I want to win Belgian Beatbox Championship, and especially if it's against Supernova, because for me back then he was uh, next to Big Ben, another Belgian beatboxer. These two were the main guys. Like, okay, if I can defeat them, I can be Belgian Beatbox Championship. I can be the winner of the Belgian Beatbox Championship, and which happened in 2018. I was in the finals against Supernova again, fourth time, and then I won. And that was also the moment when we combined our skills, and we also performed in the 2 versus 2 category, which is called tag team or duo, and we also won Belgian Beatbox Championship in duo, and we went to World Beatbox Championship. And I was qualified in 2018, same year, for the World Beatbox Championship. And I needed to battle, funnily enough, the beatboxer called Alem, which was the beatboxer that really made me start beatboxing.
Mm.
And he was world champion 2015 and vice world
Wow.
champion 2012. And I never lost that hard against somebody in 2016. But really, same story. It was so humbling, and he showed me everything on stage, like what it is to be world champion. He was in everything better, and where he was not better at, he could manipulate the crowd as if he was still better when he was not. And I was like, wow, okay. And he could just look in my eyes on stage and be like, hey, I'm winning this battle today, okay? I was like, wow, that was just fantastic. And everything from that point I also just took. And from that point, I also start to participate at international tournaments and other international beatbox battles. And sometimes I won an international competition. Sometimes I was top 3, top 2. Sometimes top top 8. But I only think one time. Mostly when I was participating at the international tournament, I was third place or first place, and sometimes second place. And in 2023, 1 year before the actual World Beatbox Championship, 2023. Well, 1 year before, they announced that the World Championship is happening again. So what I just did is I took 1 year, maybe a bit longer, to train, and yeah, I trained the hardest as I could. I made sure I was all round. I analyzed all my opponents who were qualified. I trained with a good sound system and also with a bad sound system. So if I could sound good on a bad sound system, like putting less bass, putting like a bad EQ, if I could
Wow.
manage to sound good on a bad EQ, I can sound super good on a good sound system, right? So that's what I did, and yeah. Um, After that, I won every battle at World Championship 5-0, except in the top 8, there it was 3 versus 2, and I actually thought I lost against Blackroll. And Blackroll is the beatboxer who is maybe not the most original beatboxer, but who is very technical, very powerful, who always delivers great performances, and who understands the mental strength, like this. So
Mm.
again, long story short, after Belgian Beatbox Championship losing against Devo, I made my way up to Belgian Beatbox Championship, winning that, doing international tournaments, and still learning from people that I really admired or I was looking up to, and always questioning myself, what can I do better? Doing tryouts on actual shows, and I'm really convinced that everybody. I'm not going to say everybody can be world champion, because that's not true and that might sound arrogant, but I truly know that everybody who is doing beatbox competitions or just any competition in general, or if it's something else, I really believe that everybody kind of knows what they need to do for it exactly, like what amount of work it actually takes. But some people decide to do it, and these will become champions. Some people decide not to do it, and some people just go half, like they kind of go for it, they kind of not go for it,
Half-hearted,
and
yeah.
they still will do good stuff. But yeah, and sometimes the game is the game too. Some people do the same discipline, or have the same discipline. They work for it. They train for it, and maybe they will never become world champion. Like for example, you met Reeps One. But Reeps One, he was never a world beatbox champion, but we consider him as one of the most genius beatboxers of the planet still. So he
Why?
doesn't need the title, right? And he still has this work ethic and this brilliance around him. So doesn't define you actually at the very end. But yeah,
Why is Reaps One considered that?
because Reeps One was very innovative, and he was his performance was just out of the planet. Like he already had also artistically great visions. Like beatboxers often just make their or compose their music. They go on stage and they just do the best they can. But Reeps One already years before already decided I'm gonna beatbox and collaborate with AI and see how that works, you know. And he was also like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I have my own sound engineer every time when I'm beatboxing. So he really understands my frequency, and also in terms of light work, in terms of visuals on stage, he was thinking pretty much about everything already before we had the chance.
Mm,
And
mm,
he also decided to just do it, you know. So I really, and the entire global beatbox community really respects him for his innovation and his work ethic.
yeah, awesome. And so, what an amazing journey, and just going from essentially nothing in this small village to a legend in the beatbox community. And hat off to you for that, Tim. You clearly worked so hard for that. Once you got to that peak and you kind of got to the top and everything you envisioned, what did that mean to you? And let's start with that. What did that mean to you getting to that level after all this hard work?
It was definitely, most definitely, one of the best moments in my life as soon as also Alem raised my hand, because then he was in the jury. Um, for me, it really meant a lot, and all the opportunities I got after, like performing worldwide and seeing the
Mm,
planet just because of beatboxing and sharing beatboxing all over the planet was just fantastic, you know. Um, but it also humbled me somewhere, because that you are the best, or yeah, I mean, if you won the World Beatbox Championship, that doesn't always mean that you are the very best musician, because that just doesn't exist, you know. So now it's my responsibility. I mean, I put it up to myself. I give it to me myself, but in a way I don't have a responsibility. But me, I gave myself the responsibility to wherever I go as a beatboxer, that I make sure that the name and the thought about beatboxing is highly respected. Like now, um, when I go to Sofar, for example, or when I go to a different music festival, I always give my performance with the accent, like, "Hey, yo, guys, listen, this is what beatboxing is today. Like, our own sound kit, our own songs, our own way of doing choreography or expressing ourselves, everything together, and that it's about sharing." So I will also always mention the other beatboxers in the room, and sometimes decide to let him perform for a second, or when he or she's not up to, then just mentioning the name, like, "Yo, this is family, um, this is community beatboxing." And this is really what it gave to me, like kind of responsibility, but also at the same time make sure that beatbox keeps on, uh, yeah, that we can still innovate, and that we also bring it to a commercial strong level. Well, but this is just my vision, right? So
mm.
this is what was happening in my head. Like as soon as I got the title, I wanted to make sure, like, okay, wherever I go with this title, I want to make sure that first of all the title is respected, the art form is respected, and that we can keep on growing same way as we have been doing in the past years, because we're doing a good job.
So your mission now is to make beatboxing more mainstream.
Yes, more mainstream, but I also encourage to uh, I also encourage people to use beatbox in their own way. Like me, I
Mm.
still have a very not underground style, but I like to take inspiration out of subgenres. I like
Mm.
UK grime, for example, and also like nowadays I really enjoy experimental Jersey or halftime, which is like a mix of hip hop and drum and bass. So this is really what I like, but I will make sure that how I show it to people or how I demonstrate it, that it's still like not too hard to digest for people who are new to beatbox and new to the genre, you know. But
Mm.
that's me. So I would say that my mission now is, like I said, to make a 1 hour show, and that beatboxing is really the future. This is my mission. That beatboxing is getting worldwide, not just accepted and respected, but
Mm.
like that we really that all of us really love it in some way and doing it. If it's solo beatbox or if it's the produced beatbox way, anyway, but that there's just beatbox everywhere, 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 and that there's also um, a better place for people on the planet to beatbox. Like a side mission of me is to make Belgium a better place for beatboxers so that we can make a good living out of it. Um, and same for when I go to France or to USA, that people who discover beatbox, if they already have or they didn't have yet, um, that beatbox is so respected that actually people want to collaborate with beatbox or beatboxers.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Because I realize I really tell a lot every time when you ask a question, but I want to make sure that everything is super
It's
clear at the
great.
same time.
No, it's clear. There's a
Perfect.
great saying by Samuel Beckett which goes, "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail again, fail better." And if there's anything I've learned from your journey, is that you failed time and time again. And that's how you became so good at failing that you became an expert in your field. However, that's something that a lot of people aren't comfortable doing, is by exposing themselves to failure. How did you get so good at failing? And when you lose a battle, how do you pick yourself back up again to then learn from the experience and kill it later?
Well, obviously, what helped for me is when you're in a competitive world as beatbox battling, then you just want to win, of course. But I also wanted to be the beatboxer who was like who was all around, and I made up my mind like, okay, I just want to learn also the things where I'm not good at, and some things just took more time. But what helped for me as a beatbox musician is the SWOT. And I don't know if you know the SWOT.
Mm-mm.
It's like a SWOT analysis. Sorry, and a SWOT analysis is like a strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. So you just take like a sheet of paper, and you take a pen and you do
Mm-hmm.
and then on the upper left corner you write your strength. In my case, that would have been, for example, I am technically quite strong. I have clean execution. My performance is great, and musically, I am doing quite good too. I'm quite original. Blah blah blah. I write all the things down that I know for myself, but I also ask again people that I trust.
Mm.
Like, what do you think I can write as my strength? You know.
Mm.
And then, as my weakness, I could, for example, write like, okay, in some of my routines or my some of my songs, I am missing a little bit of power and dynamics. So I make sure that as soon as there's a next beatbox battle, that this is already better somehow, and that I
Mm.
ask people that I trust, like how to train this. And then for opportunities, I write like, okay, very soon there's a World Beatbox Championship, or very soon there is this showcase at So Far in Berlin, where I can show 20 minutes long, like all my best songs. And like one time, I'm gonna just do a freestyle with the things that I'm training, so I have time to actually train it and to perform it already before the beatbox battle is happening, something like that. And as threats, I could write things like, okay, but soon I need to move to a different place, or I have
Mm.
exams, or soon I will be very busy because I have a lot of work, which means not too much time for training. And this sheet of paper then will actually give you like a clear overview where you're currently at. And then based on the threats and on your opportunities, you can actually make like your own, you can make up your own time management. Like, okay, maybe within this and 3 months, I can already train these two aspects or work on something that I didn't work on. And then you reflect yourself again and you go on and you go on and you go on. And for me, this really worked. So now pretty much everything what I described, like the dynamics and some power or other things, are things now that I manage to do good. I don't really have a like a huge thing in my performance or in my music kit that I really lack, you know.
Mm.
Um, well, if so, I would still ask and then get feedback, you know. But this is how I always worked, and this is how I know that I will always keep on growing too.
Mm. Tim, what I loved hearing about your World Beatbox Championship rise is how you ended up beating someone in the final and then you joined on the same team as him. How does that work in a competitive world?
Well, first of all, it was in the Belgian Beatbox Championship that me and Supernova we collaborated. It was not the World Championship, right? So
Yeah.
at the Belgian Beatbox Championship, it was after like losing a third time against Supernova. After all, I was not really disappointed or anything. Maybe the third time I was just slightly frustrated. But I mean, he was somebody where I was looking up to, obviously.
Good.
So as soon as he reached out to me a couple of months before Belgian Beatbox Championship, the one that I won, a couple of months before, he texted me a message like, "Yo, I actually wanted to do like the tag team or like the duo beatbox championship too, which is 2 versus 2. But my colleague canceled or anything. I don't remember how it exactly was, but he reached out to me and said like, "Do you want to actually work together?" And at first I was like, "Huh, maybe that's just like a way to figure out what new stuff I have or how good did I become." These were my thoughts. But I was like, even if I win against him at some point in solo, I can still learn a lot from him. And I really think what we would make together, first of all, we are like, back then we were not like big friends yet. Now we really are. But back then I was like, I like him as a person. I like him as a beatboxer. My competitiveness shouldn't be standing in the way. Let's just collaborate and let's just make music and let's see what we can make out of this, right? Um, and it was just a different way of beatboxing because then you could actually just combine your true superpowers together.
Mm.
Like me, in terms of frequency, my talent lies in the highs. Like my
Mm.
snares are pretty sharp and accurate. But him, for example, his sub bass is reading 30 hertz. So he has basically a better bass than I have. So we're like, okay,
Wow.
let's combine all of it, you know? And it just works. I didn't mention this earlier, but next to World Beatbox Championship, you also have the World League of Beatboxing. And both of us, we won this too in 2 versus 2. Uh, because I think if I didn't say yes, then back to when he was proposing our duo, if I didn't say yes, I think I wouldn't be as good as a solo artist too as I am now. Because after
Wow.
when I won against him, he could still show me, okay, but now when you're ready for World Championship, I'm gonna be honest with you, still train on this, and so yeah, Supernova was his name, and both our duo, it's named middle. It's called Middle School,
Mm.
and it's with Middle School that we won the World League. And so now both of us, we are in a position, like me as a solo beatboxer, I don't really compete at battles right now, but I really perform my music in its best possible way. And same for middle school. What we really do now is doing shows. Like we already make like a 45 or 60 minutes showcase for non-beatboxers and beatboxers, so it's like easy to digest for the entire public, yeah, for everyone, yeah, you understand me.
Mm.
So but it was not easy because it really means you need to put your ego aside and you need to put your competitiveness on the side if it's training with somebody like that. And that's sometimes a very hard part too, because it's hard to find out yourself. And often when someone else would tell you like you're jealous or you're too competitive, sometimes you have the reflex to say like no, I'm not, when there's ego involved, you know.
Mm.
So but if the love for music is bigger than the drive for winning and being competitive, then everything will turn out super good, because as you know, music just guides us through to innovation and to beauty and magic and bringing people together anyway. So I was very happy that he invited me for a collaboration.
Love that. And credit to you for having the humility to learn as well, even after you beat him in a championship. So um I found out recently that beatboxers are now starting to write their own songs, which is awesome. I know that's something you're doing as well. And just, yeah, as well as singing the songs, you're incorporating all the percussion around it at the same time, which is incredible. Tell me about your songwriting journey.
This came pretty late, I think. I want to mention already the pioneer of beatboxing, Razel, who actually um, was one of the first who could actually perform a song like "If Your Mother Only Knew." I'm not pretty sure if it's like a beatbox cover or if it's like his own composition. I need to
Mm.
this. I'm not sure, but he was one of the guys who inspired the community to do it. And then there was Roxer Loops, also a Belgian beatboxer who did the same. Slizzer, Jin Shinosaki, many other people did that. So it inspired me quite late to do it, to be fair, because me, first I wanted to just invent sounds, making routines, and then winning beatbox battles. And making routines is actually the same as composing, but it's more for a beatbox battle way, let's say. Like finishing very strong, showing high energy, or sometimes low energy, but still to manipulate the beatbox battle in order to win, you know? This is what I
Mm.
call routine. But at some point you just you understand that beatbox can be way bigger than just that, and you try to make songs. And I think I have like a very hip hop way of composing, which is sometimes I try to improvise or freestyling, and then I puzzle ideas together, and I try to make something out of nothing, as I said again, which is starting with a certain sound and trying to create a different sound with it by combining it with another one. Like for example, uh, we have this sound, which is a falsetto version of the one of Freddy Beats. And you have the bongo drum as second sound, which is. And if you combine both sounds, you will have. And then based on that, you can actually
Whoa.
make a note with it. Like this, you can combine it with uh, with the drum pattern that you've made. You see if it works out, and if it does work out, how will you continue, and what's the emotion you want to reach, or what's the vibe you want to create. I think everybody has their own way of composing, but I think I have a pretty hip hop way of doing it, and a very producer way too, like how to do it.
Mm.
So
Love that.
my journey was by, I'm gonna say it as correctly as I can. But in 2019, after winning some international beatbox battles, then 2020 2020 happened, which is COVID, of course. And during COVID, I was very interested by discovering new music, and I discovered the artist called Ivy Lab. And Ivy Lab is a British producer duo making experimental hip hop, experimental Jersey, experimental drill, experimental other stuff. And they had their own sound kit and their own crisp, their own structure, but still, yeah, it was all so original, you know. And I was so in love with this style that they were making called halftime, which is again like typical hip hop beats, but with like a drum and bass jacket, like drum and bass texture, color. And I was like, wow, that sounds so new. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, I want to beatbox like that because it sounds cool and hop, hop, hop. And I took a lot of inspiration from these artists and other different artists that I start to discover then. But I think Ivy Lab was my main inspiration. And then I was enjoying my beatbox like so much more. And I was like, okay, so I have now this kind of structure, this kind of composition, these sounds. How can I make it like technically still like so good for a beatbox battle, but that it's so interesting for non-beatboxers? And that was like the trial and error phase, let's say. But it worked out pretty fast because I came up with something new and I already knew how to impress, let's say, a non-beatbox crowd.
Mm.
But it all started in 2020, uh, composing for real.
What's easier, impressing a beatbox crowd or a non-beatbox crowd?
This depends on it depends on who you are.
Do
Um,
you perform differently to those audiences?
yeah, but only slightly. Like I will still
Right.
show the same songs, but um, I will maybe perform differently.
Mm.
Like for some complex things that I do beatbox wise, I know that a beatboxer, for example, already will notice it and I will grab its attention even without pointing fingers to it. But when I'm performing for a non beatbox crowd and I'm about to do something technical, then I still want to make it as musical as I can, you know? So then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna perform it in such a way that with eye contact and with choreography and maybe also slightly different accents in the music itself, that I say to people now in a non-verbal way, like, okay, guys, this part is going to be very interesting. Pay attention, please. Like, you know, in this way. But some people in the beatbox, I mean, the people in the beatbox industry will already understand because they're doing the same stuff, you know. Um, so I would just say I perform slightly differently, but I still use the
Mm.
same music. The one that the melody that I'm humming, uh, is a song I would do at a So Far concert, but I would still do it at a beatbox battle, you know. So I mean, at the beatbox
Yeah.
event. I said battle, but yeah, event.
So cool. Where has beatboxing taken you around the world, and what are your standout moments from your performances?
What do you exactly mean? Like, where did it take me?
So where have you traveled around the world performing, and what's been your, I guess, your top three favorite performances that you've played?
Okay. So I would say, like, first of all, it brought me to pretty much every continent except Africa for now. But I had the chance to go to Africa, and that's one of the continents I really still want to visit. You know, um,
Mm.
but I've in the last 2 years I've been going to Japan like 4 times, China twice,
Wow.
the United States twice, pretty much like almost every country in Europe. I went to New Zealand one time too, which was I think my not my favorite beatbox event, but my favorite country. Like in terms of in terms of air quality, in terms of food, in terms of beauty, the people, everything was so nice.
And sheep.
Sheep and cows. Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah. Mm, but I think one of my favorite beatbox shows that I gave was at the official Chinese beatbox championship, because the heart for beatboxing there, just like Japan, is just so huge, but the response is differently. Like in Japan, they will show you a lot of energy when you ask for it, and otherwise they just remain calm and pay 100% attention to you.
Really?
But the Chinese beatboxers have the same big heart for beatboxing, but they party at whatever you do nonstop. So I was like, wow, okay, they just show love no matter what. No matter what. And yeah, Chinese Beatbox Championship 2024 was, I think, one of my best shows that I ever did. Um, the vibe was so
Wow.
good. Mm, yeah. And another good show was at the West German Beatbox Championship in Dortmund. Um, there it was like before World Beatbox Championship. Um, I showed my beatbox classics that the crowd knew, and I already gave them one teaser of what I'm gonna do at World Championship, but they couldn't film it. I told them, so please don't film, please don't leak it, because otherwise maybe I will, maybe some people can
Give
already
the game
find
away.
things against me. And the people put their phone
Mm.
away, and the response was like just fantastic. So I remember that moment clearly, and I had just so much power after, so much energy and motivation to just continue, because of the amount of love that they showed for what I did. So these were two beatbox events really, and for like a non-beatbox event, um, it could be pretty much most things that I did with middle school uh, with Supernova. I tried to find out like where this was, but pretty much every time when I perform with Supernova, it always feels great, if it's for beatboxers or non-beatboxers. But somehow we have a very cool vibe as the two of us for like non-beatboxers. They really see us as like a duo, like Rick and Morty, or like Mike Wazowski
Mm.
and Sully. It's a bit of a meme in the community. Uh, yeah, so I can not directly think of an event, but every time when I perform with middle school for a non-beatbox crowd, it really hits.
So tell me more about your beatbox lessons, because you teach online, is that right? How can people learn about this and have you as a mentor?
Um, I I teach beatbox in different ways. Like yesterday, I went to like a regular high school in Brussels, and I teach like regular non-musician students how to learn the basics of beatbox and the basic of rhythm and the basic of composing beatboxing. Um, and most of the time, this really works, and it feels refreshing, and it grabs people their attention, and it always ends up to be a fun afternoon or like a fun day. I also teach to uh, beatboxers who are like motivated just to become better. And soon, because sometimes I did this in groups, but now I'm gonna open together with my colleague Stan, the current Belgian beatbox champion, 2023. Yeah, he will, me, him, and my girlfriend. We will open a beatbox school together, and we will do this for beginners and also for advanced beatboxers or beatboxers who already are like experienced. And then I also teach online for an already existing beatbox school, which is called Lyrebird, which is based in France. And we do online lessons. Like for example, very soon I'm gonna have a session with somebody who his aim is to become national champion of his country. So I'm giving him everything that I know and what he's lacking. Like we do this one-on-one, like private singing lessons, but then for beatboxing and sometimes for battle strategies.
Mm.
And this is pretty much how I do it. Like regular workshops for non-beatboxers, workshops in sessions or one-on-one for for already experienced or advanced beatboxers, yeah, and then online one-on-one for beatboxers and non-beatboxers with Lyrebird. This is
Love
how
that.
it goes.
And the thing is, Tim, like you don't need to teach. Like you have absolutely killed it. And congratulations, by the way, for buying your house recently, which you announced at
Yeah,
the So
thank
Far
you.
Sound show. That's huge, absolutely huge, and well deserved. But it's amazing to see that you're giving back to the community and helping other people on their way on their journey. Why does teaching? Why isn't teaching important to you?
For me, what I really like about teaching is when I could really show, for example, what always fascinated me, and somehow I can teach to people a certain discipline, how I train myself, or how I could just train other people starting from scratch or starting from a different point. I could teach them discipline for if they actually have their own passion. And
Mm-hmm.
wherever it might guide them, I would be really happy if I was like a small part of it and I don't need credit for it. But I like it because I could speak about what's passionating me, and it's a moment of being together with people who are not experienced or
Mm,
half experienced or something. And it's a vulnerable moment that we share with each other, and it's a moment of effort and respecting the concept time and respecting the concept of energy and putting effort.
mm.
So this is what I really like about. Obviously, um, no, I wanted to say obviously I like it more to teach uh, experienced beatboxers, but that's actually not true. Like I really love to go to high schools and be like, "Hey, I'm the beatboxer." And now, within 50 minutes, you all of you can do. And this is such a basic thing for me, where I say like, and everybody, every single one of you can do it at the end of within these 2 hours or within these 50 minutes. Depends on how
Yeah.
much time that we have. Uh, but yeah, I love this because I discover new places, new schools, new people, um, and sometimes it's refreshing to when you are like in a less passionate mood. Sometimes you just perform a beatbox piece and people are like so impressed. It gives me the same magic again. It's like a mirror, like a reflection. Like, oh, yo, beatbox is cool. Thanks for showing it. I'm like, ah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, it goes in many ways. I like teaching in general. That's all I can
So
say.
so Tim, say I want to learn beatboxing and have you teach me online.
Yes.
What do I do? Where do I go?
Okay. So first, what we're gonna learn is the three basic sounds of beatboxing.
Oh no, where? Where, Tim? Where? How do I connect with you? What's the best way?
No, no, you're gonna listen. No, joke, joke.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
No,
sir.
no. Okay. No, no. So the best way how to learn it online, I would say reach out to www.lyrebirdbeatboxschool.com or
And Lyrebird spell
lyrebirdbeatbox.com. I need to check it out, but if you type Lyrebird Beatbox on the internet, you will see the website, and there you can have multiple teachers
Lyre.
online.
Yeah,
L
Lyre
Y R E.
bird.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. I would go
fantastic.
to there.
Okay, great. And what are you most excited about this year?
Finishing this 1 hour show, as I mentioned before.
Mm,
It's gonna be again like a moment of vulnerability, but innovation at the same time. Again, I'm pretty sure.
cool.
I'm very uh, well trained and well experienced by just showing the solo beatbox that I've always been doing now for 12 years almost 13 actually. But now to actually to actually put the loop station in my show and to put the DJ set in my show with beatbox music, beatboxing on top of this music, and to combine it with other artists and to actually show it live and to bring it as like a musician instead of a beatboxer.
Mm.
Well, I always considered myself as a beatbox musician at some point, but to really perform concerts instead of showcases, this is really something where I'm really, really excited about. And fun fact, I only need to finish my loop station song, and then I think I'm ready.
Hell yeah.
Then it's just a matter of stage decoration and visuals and light work.
Fantastic. And where can people keep up with your performances? Where can people see you around the world?
Mm, the easiest thing would be my Instagram and my other social media platforms in general. Mainly, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
What is your
But
Instagram?
on Instagram, it's called Footbox G, like the artist name, FOOTBOXG, as one word. And I often share like my calendar, like at this date I am performing there. At this date I'm performing in that country, and at that date it will be like a middle school showcase. You can see it in the logos.
Awesome.
I'll share one as soon as the uh, autumn. No, not autumn. As soon as the spring starts. Yeah.
And why Footbox G? Where did the name come from?
This is such a random explanation that I'm about to give you. It's very funny.
I'm ready.
Uh, okay, good. Good that you are. So, when I was 14 and I was beatboxing for already a couple of months, I didn't mention it in the beginning, but I was quite gaming addicted. Like, not only on my iPod Touch, like the apps that I told in the beginning, but I was also very addicted to PlayStation, like pretty much every boy of 14 years old, like playing football against each other, FIFA, or like playing Call of Duty. These were pretty much my games that I played, Assassin's Creed and stuff. But when I discovered beatboxing, my gaming addiction, like it went like way lower. And at some point, sometimes I still game, but really my urge is to escape reality. This uh, this I got rid of as soon as I learned beatboxing, and um, I decided like, okay, I'm gonna at some point make my own YouTube channel to upload my very first beatbox videos and freestyles. But I will keep my nickname like Easy, like my artist name. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my PlayStation name, which was Foot, like FOOT. And then it was actually quite more complex with all the underscores and stuff, but it was Foot basically. I was like, okay, Foot box from beatboxing. Then I was okay, but I want to sound tough, so I'm gonna add a G on top of it. Footbox G, hell yeah, let's go.
What does the G mean?
I just mean gangster or something.
I mean, Footbox Gangster, love
Yeah, man, I was
it.
man as a 14-year-old. If I look back, like I'm like okay. So even around that time, I was like, maybe I'm gonna change the name, because Footbox G. Maybe it sounds weird. I'm gonna decide later. But at some point, I was beatboxing
Got
again at
stuck.
my school, like at the playground. I was just beatboxing, like very basic. And a girl came towards me and said like, "Wow, hell yeah! Look at your shoes; they're so big." And I was like, "What?" She's complimenting my feet. And then yeah, I realized like, okay, I was 14 years old, but I already have European size 43, and which is like not too big. I have now still 43, but when I was 14 years old, I was like so small as a kid. So it really looked like this. Just a second. As if I was walking like that.
Right.
So this was my size, these were my feet. And it just felt like, okay, Footbox G. Okay, it has two meanings now. Like, so my PlayStation does, and so my feet. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep the name. It makes sense. And no matter if it's ridiculous, there are other ridiculous artist name, it's okay. I'm gonna keep it. So this is
What a great.
the entire story.
That's fantastic. Well, I remember I introduced you as Footbox without the G at So Far Sounds show, and now I realize how important G is now, because
No.
otherwise you're not gangster.
I promise you it's not. As soon as there is maybe like a poster, maybe there's like ads for when I perform, I prefer to have like its original name, right? For promo. But
We have to make you sound
you don't
badass,
need to call me
otherwise.
a gangster. I'm pretty okay with this, I'm pretty okay with this, bro.
All right, gangster. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Tim, also known as Fitbox.
Yeah, no
It's
problem.
been
Thank you
so
too.
inspiring to hear about it. And thanks so much for the great work that you do. Thanks for blowing us away at So Far Sound shows and everywhere else. And also for giving back to the community, the beatbox community, rising that to prominence, and also, yeah, teaching everyone else how it's done as well. I really love to see that. You're a very humble, talented individual, and I wish you the best, man. Keep up the amazing work.
Yeah, I hope to see you soon again. It always has been a pleasure to talk with you, no matter if it's like a nice podcast as this, or if it's like just with a beer in the hands or with a drink in the hands. Yeah. So I
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
it too, and thank you for all the nice words.
Of course. Do you want to leave us with any last words before we close off tonight?
Mm, well, I would just say, guys, go check the So Far Sounds. It's not just because Josh is here that I'm saying it, but So Far Sounds is also one of my favorite things to do. It's intimate, it's honest, and it's still true art, and a lot of love, a lot of respect, and uh, I wish you the time and energy that you need to go to it, because it's so fun and you will not regret it. See you.
Thank you, Tim. We've been So Far Stories. See you next time. Take care, guys.